As Alpine, the new Arch Linux. In this video I want to compare these two distros and kind of look at a few different points which are important in terms of things like minimalism, which also means knowledge and understanding, control and security, and in the end freedom. So the first point I want to look at is the init system. And I mean, this is probably common knowledge, but Arch Linux uses systemd by default and Alpine uses OpenRC. So systemd is very bloated. It's a very monolithic init system, and yeah, you can't really understand it that well from the outside. Whereas OpenRC is very minimal. I mean, it's made by the Gentoo Linux team, and yeah, I mean, it's minimal. It does very few things, but it does them very well, and you can pretty easily wrap your head around it, around the whole system. So, and with systemd, it's not really the case. You have a lot of directories, a lot of things systemd can do. That's also very convenient, of course, because you don't have to, like, it does all the things. Like, you don't have to worry about anything really, because systemd just handles it. But again, this is not about convenience, but about control and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's for init system. Next up, core utilities. So stuff like ls, cat, sed, and so on and so forth. So the utilities you will most likely use in your, well, if you write shell script, you will use these utilities. So, and again, Arch Linux uses GNU and Alpine uses BusyBox. So, and I think everyone knows this kind of. So the GNU utils, I mean, they are fine. They are great because they also have a lot of features. So they are, in that sense, kind of bloated. So, for example, GNU ls has more features than BusyBox ls, or more flags, more things it can do. And sometimes you need this. And I think, like, so I've had it with BusyBox that something didn't work. So, for example, the script I recently made a video on where I kind of replaced the form, so the formula backend of my website. So when you send a contact form, I replaced the web server I had before with a shell script. So, and this shell script used tail, and the BusyBox tail didn't work correctly. Like, it didn't work like I was expecting it to work. So I just, yeah, installed the GNU core utils and then it worked. But by default, Alpine, or rather, I used GNU tail and then it worked, I should rather say. But like, other than that, the BusyBox utils are very, like, they are great and they are very minimal if you compare them to GNU. So yeah, and this applies, of course, to the entire system because, I mean, like, everything you script depends on these utilities. So it's, I think, a good idea to have like a more minimal implementation of them. All right, and then kind of the final major point I want to talk about is the C library. And this is now very, very important because, like, every program on your system that's written in C and every library that's written in C depends on this C library. So Arch uses glibc, so the GNU C library, and Alpine uses muscle libc. So muscle is a very small, very minimal implementation of the C library, the C standard library. And I mean, the GNU standard library, I mean, it's kind of the default on most distros. And I mean, it's, of course, again, it has a lot more stuff packed into it that might also be very convenient at times. And I think I don't know if it's still faster than muscle. I'm not sure on that. But I think at some point it was. Because it can, of course, like, do a lot more optimization because it's more bloated in that sense. Bloated, quote unquote. So yeah, that's that. And then kind of a final point that's just like that's not really a point on like a system level, I guess, but it's the package manager. And I mean, it's been some time since I used Arch and Pacman, but I mean, these like SYU, I mean, these are not, of course these flags have some meaning, sure, but to be honest, I really like the Alpine APK add del info search, like these like words and not cryptic letters. So yeah, I guess that's a minor point. But I also think, I mean, this is not like this is of course not a purely technical point like the C library. I mean, you as a user, you don't have contact with the C library most of the time. But with the package manager you use quite often. So this is not really a machine point, so a point of like machine efficiency, I guess, but rather a point of like user efficiency, you could say. Yeah. So, but still, I mean, I think stuff like this matters. So yeah. And then, of course, if you look at the circumference of an arch, that is bigger than of a triangle. So triangle is kind of so a mountain you can symbolize as a triangle, and an arch is, yeah, it's an arch. So arch is obviously more bloated than Alpine. Yeah, this just proves it, and yeah, nothing more to say. Okay, so no, but seriously, conclusion. I mean, kind of I think the question is Alpine the new arch is kind of, it's a weird question, because I mean, arch is arch and Alpine is Alpine. But if we think about like in terms of, again, minimalism and stuff like that, I think Alpine kind of takes the idea of simplicity, minimalism, this kind of stuff, it takes it way further than Arch does. And Arch is popular, of course, for very good reasons. And I think these kind of points that it uses, all the normal stuff that other big distros use, kind of contributes to it. Because the user doesn't have to deal with like niche things like OpenRC, like scripts and stuff like that. So I've had it, for example, with, I mean, I've done a few videos on like self-hosting stuff, and for example, for what was it? I think Caddy, so my web server that I'm using, or also Maddie, the email server I'm using. So for these, there are no, like, Alpine doesn't ship with, well, Alpine doesn't even, I don't think it had them in the repositories when I made the video on them, but I was able to find OpenRC scripts on the Gentoo, like in the Gentoo package, like stuff like that. But I mean, again, on Arch you don't have to deal with this stuff because, I mean, or with stuff like that, because systemd is so ubiquitous and so widely used that there are systemd scripts for everything always included by default, because everyone just assumes you're using systemd because it's the de facto default, like the de facto standard. And also the same with glibc, and also the same with the GNU core utils. Like if you just copy a shell script off the internet somewhere, it probably assumes you're using the GNU core utils. It's like so if you just expect everything to run with the BusyBox core utils, yeah, probably not. But I mean, these are just edge cases, right? But still. So yeah, and I mean, so in this video I kind of haven't mentioned the obvious points. So obviously, if you install Alpine, it will not ship with a fully bloated like desktop environment and stuff like that. Of course, you kind of can install your X server yourself and set up your window manager and whatnot. But this is kind of, yeah, I mean, this is kind of like stuff that, like, at least I assume implicitly, like, yeah, of course it's that. It's like that. And I mean, the installation as well, I mean, but for me, like, the installation is not really part of, I mean, it's an installation, it's not like part of the running system. Sure, with Arch you can, if you do all the stuff manually, you can learn stuff about your system. But I guess with Alpine you can do the same. I mean, you can install your system manually. There are, of course, installation scripts, and I think at this point Arch also has them, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I mean, if you want to install your system by hand, you can, of course. I mean, why not? But yeah. All right, so these were just some of my thoughts and some of the, I think, most important points when it comes to kind of minimalism and control and freedom and stuff like that. And yeah, that's it. That's my take on it. Have a nice day.